Hello, friends. Once again, I welcome you all to this virtual learning online platform. Presently, we are dealing with an important element of English grammar called form and meaning. So far, we talked about how to analyze the form of a sentence and how to derive meanings based on the form of a respective sentence. In the previous couple of videos, I also talked about a few examples in detail and tried to provide you various techniques of making the analysis of the pair of sentences provided for form and meaning. Now, in this class, I would like to deal with a few more sentences in the respect of form and meaning. This is form and meaning part 3. Now you look at your screen for a pair of sentences. She killed her. She killed herself. So these are the two simple sentences provided here for the analysis of the form and meaning. Both the sentences are in simple past tense. You have SHE, she, third person, singular number, functioning as the subject of the sentence. In both the cases, KILLED, killed, is functioning as the main verb of the sentence. To kill is the infinitive form. KILLED, killed, is the V2, that is the past form. The third element in both the sentences is a pronoun. In the first case, you have HER, her, which is a possessive pronoun. She, subject, killed, verb, her, possessive pronoun, functioning as the object of the sentence. So you have another sentence here. She killed herself. So here you have she functioning as subject of the sentence. Killed is functioning as verb of the sentence. And herself is the reflexive pronoun. Okay, so action is getting reverted to the subject. Now you look at the meaning of both the sentences. In the respect of the form, already I told you, both the sentences are in simple past tense, right? Now you have the meaning. The first sentence means that she killed someone else means she committed a crime and murdered a lady or a girl. So the first C, that is SHE, that is the subject of the sentence. She committed a crime. She murdered a lady. And for the lady or a girl, the possessive pronoun HER has been used here in this sentence. So you have two different persons here. One is the doer of the action, that is the subject, she, and another is H-E-R, her, that is the object in the sentence. So action is done by she upon her. So here you have this sort of meaning. Now you have the second sentence. She killed herself. The second sentence means that she committed suicide successfully and killed herself. So killing herself means that the attempt of committing suicide successfully. And that's why in both the sentences, okay, you have she functioning as subject, killed functioning as verb. But the element called the third element in the first case, that is object, possessive pronoun her functioning as object. And in the second sentence, you have herself, which is a reflexive pronoun, reverting the action to the subject itself, right? And that's why these two different meanings are possible as far as this pair of sentences is concerned. Now you look at the another pair on your screen. You may go home. The next sentence is you should go home. Now you look at the form of both the sentences. Probably you might have very quickly understood. In both the sentences, modal auxiliaries have been used. In the case of the first sentence, the modal auxiliary may is used in order to give permission. Whereas in the second sentence, the modal auxiliary should is used in order to indicate a sense of responsibility. Now you try to analyze the meaning of both the sentences. The first sentence means that you are permitted to go home. When you say you may go home, it means you are permitted to go home. It means you are given the permission to go home. Whereas you have the second sentence, that means that you should go home as a sense of your responsibility. Probably you are already getting late, and this is not fair to be outside for long till late hours. Better you go back home. It is your sense of responsibility for your family. So this is how the use of may and should changes the meaning of the respective sentences. Right? Now I'll proceed with one more pair on your screen. She is too tired to work. And the next sentence is she was too tired to work. In both the sentences, you have SHE functioning as subject of the sentence. There is only one minor difference in the form of the sentences. First sentence is in simple present tense. Second sentence is in the simple past tense. You can easily make out. In the first sentence, you have is. As you know, am, is, are used in the present tense, and was, were are used in the past tense. In the case of the second sentence, we have used was there. And that's why second sentence is in the simple past tense. Now you see the meaning, how the meaning is getting changed when the tense or the form of the sentences is being changed. The first sentence means that she is tired of doing work now in the present time. Okay. When you say she is too tired to work, it means that she has been working for long consistently, and that's why she is too tired to work. She is so much tired to work. And that too in the present time, because is indicates the present time. Whereas you have the another sentence here, she was too tired to work. It means that she was tired of doing certain work in the past time, it means the action is already completed in the past. It may not have any relevance with the present. The person, that is the third person singular number she, may remain the same. But as far as the work is concerned or the action is concerned, that is already completed in the past. So this is how you can analyze the meanings of the sentences. Now you have another pair on your screen. I had enough food to eat. Second sentence is I had food to eat. See here, there is only one minor change in the sentences. In the first sentence, you have enough, and that makes a big difference in the meaning. Actually, both the sentences have similar form. Both are in the simple past tense. Please don't get confused because of the presence of had here. In both the cases, had has come as the past form of have. So unless you have V3 followed by had, you cannot call it the past perfect tense. Okay, now you look at the meanings. The first sentence means that I had sufficient quantity of food to eat in the past time. Whenever I had my food, probably I finished my course of taking food. So when I had it, that time, I had enough quantity, I had sufficient quantity of food to eat. But when I say I had food to eat, it means that, of course, I had food to eat in the past time, but it doesn't clarify whether the food was sufficient or not. Whether the food quantity was enough or not. This sentence does not clarify anything. Of course, I had food. Whether it was less in quantity, more in quantity, extra in quantity, or sufficient or enough in quantity, nothing is said. And that is the essential difference between these two sentences. Now you look at another sentence on your screen. Anna is eating a sandwich. Second sentence is Anna has been eating a sandwich. As far as the forms of the sentences are concerned, the first sentence is in the present continuous tense because you have is plus eat plus ing. It indicates the present continuous tense. Whereas the second sentence is in the present perfect continuous tense. You have a structure here like subject Anna, has plus been plus eat plus ing. Okay. So this structure indicates that this sentence is in present perfect continuous tense. Now you look at the meanings. The first sentence means that Anna is eating a sandwich right now in the present time. It means the action of eating a sandwich is very much progressive, is very much continuous, is going on in the present time. Whereas you have the second sentence, Anna has been eating a sandwich. It means that Anna has started eating a sandwich sometime before, and the action of eating is continued now in the present time, and probably it will continue for some more time even in the near future. It means Anna has started eating a sandwich before some time. It is continued now also, and maybe probably for another couple of minutes or so in the future time that is yet to come, it will continue. So this is how, based on the form of a sentence, you should be able to derive the proper meaning of a sentence. And that's what you call it the form and meaning. One more pair on your screen. He played the violin. He can play the violin. Now you see, as far as the form of these two sentences is concerned, the first sentence is in simple past tense, whereas the second sentence uses a modal auxiliary can in order to show the ability or capacity of the subject, that is he. Now you see how the meaning is getting changed. In the first sentence, he played the violin means that the action of playing the violin is completed in the past. He picked up his violin, which is a musical instrument. He tried his hand, he played it. And the action of playing the violin is completed in the past. Whereas the second sentence, he can play the violin, means that he is capable of playing the violin. He has the capacity to play the violin. He has the ability to play the violin. But whether he played it now or recently or in the past, nothing is indicated here. Simply, we talked about the ability of an individual. He can play the violin. That's all. Now you have one more pair on your screen. Did you call Gautam? Second sentence. Would you call Gautam? The moment you had a glance on these two sentences, immediately you might have understood that both the sentences are in interrogative form, because both the sentences are asking questions. And at the end of each sentence, we have a question mark. But now you look at the form here. The first sentence is in simple past tense with an interrogative form, whereas the second sentence uses the modal auxiliary would in order to make an interrogative form. So did is used to make interrogative sentence here, and in the second case would has been used in order to make the interrogative sentence here. Now you look at the meaning. The moment you change did with would and vice versa, you will have different meanings here. The first sentence makes an enquiry whether the action of calling Gautam is completed or not. So simply it is called, did you call Gautam? Okay, I have a friend and I asked him that please call Gautam. And after some time I will ask him, did you call Gautam? So he may answer either yes or no. So I'm just making an inquiry whether the action of calling to Gautam is completed or not. But when I say, would you call Gautam, the meaning is totally changed. It means that a request to someone is made whether you would be able to call Gautam or not. It means the action of calling Gautam is not at all done. Whereas somebody, suppose I am requesting you, and then I'll say, would you call Gautam? Maybe my mobile is not functioning, I'm out of coverage area, or else I'm not carrying my mobile with me. So I'll just request you, would you call Gautam? So this way I'm making a request to someone whether he or she could call Gautam on my behalf. So these are the, differences in the meaning the moment the form is changed. So this is how we come to an end of this topic called form and meaning. Thank you very much.